Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari promises to rid country of insecurity before leaving. Court grants Atiku Obi's request to inspect election materials. Plus, Turkey's opposition alliance fractures ahead of vote. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari has said his administration remained committed to winning the war against terrorism and other forms of insecurity. He added that his administration would stop at nothing to ensure citizens have a new Nigeria free from insecurity before bowing out of office. The president spoke at the unveiling of locally produced 700 Ashok Leyland troops carrying vehicles in Abuja today. He, however, commended the military's efforts at ensuring peace and stability in the country, promising that he would ensure their labor would not go unrewarded. In another development, Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, has inaugurated the Maiduguri Emergency Power Project, describing the feat as another testament towards achieving a stable, uninterrupted power supply aimed at improving the economy and lives of Nigerians. The gas plant was constructed by the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC Limited, to supply 50 megawatts of electricity to Maiduguri and its environs. According to a statement by the presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu, the president said his administration has worked hard to fulfill the promise of tackling the nation's electricity challenges and has succeeded in laying the foundation for a strong, prosperous country through the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP. He noted that a key execution priority of the ERGP is ensuring national energy sufficiency for Nigerians. Meanwhile, the President has also visited the popular Monday market in Maiduguri, Borno State, where fire reportedly gutted over 13,000 shops and destroyed goods worth billions of naira last Sunday. According to a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, Buhari visited the market along with Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State, Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, members of the Federal Executive Council, and some eminent citizens of the state. On her part, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, told the president she was still assessing the level of damage. Meanwhile, the state governor Zulum said the market was built in the 1970s, adding that government had provided an immediate support of 1 billion naira to the victims.
I am here mainly, as His Highness mentioned, to come and commiserate with you on the fire on the market.
Worked hand in hand with Borno State government to recover, but unfortunately there's nothing to recover. An assessment is ongoing, Your Excellency. We have provided relief support in terms of food items, and I have directed that the assessment should continue, and we are going to also support with building materials in collaboration with the state government.
In addition to this one, Borno State government has provided the immediate humanitarian support of 1 billion naira. Even the 1 billion naira, if they can share even 50,000, I don't think it can opt to do something for them.
On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission has said that supplementary elections will be fixed after the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. This was made known in a statement signed by the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, INEC, Festus Okoye. Okoye said the Commission is aware that in some senatorial districts and federal constituencies, declarations and returns were not made. According to him, the Commission is compiling the list of the affected constituencies in which a date for supplementary elections will be fixed after the governorship and state assembly elections. He gave the assurance that the governorship and state assembly elections will hold on March 11 alongside the postponed elections in Enugu and Edo. Meanwhile, 6 states, namely Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Delta, Edo, and Sokoto, have dragged the federal government before the Supreme Court over the conduct, collation, and announcement of the February 25, 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections results. The states want the Supreme Court to declare that the pronouncement of Bola Tinubu, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, as the winner of the February 25 presidential election be voided by the court. Reports say they argue that the entire results of the presidential election announced by the chairman of INEC at the National Collation Center, Abuja, is in flagrant violation of the provisions of the Electoral Act. According to them, they want a declaration that the non-uploading of the results of each of the 176,974 polling units nationwide in respect of the presidential election and National Assembly elections were not in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. In a related development, the African Bar Association has said that the Independent National Electoral Commission was ill-prepared for the 2023 general elections, as monumental as it was. The president of the association, Hannibal Waifo, said this in a statement while disclosing the observations of the Continental Bar on the just concluded polls. According to him, the AVBA, which observed as an observer during the presidential and National Assembly elections, would submit a report of its observations to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, soon. He thanked all Nigerians who took part in the elections, particularly the young people who turned out en masse to perform their civic duties in the hope of securing a better nation. In the meantime, the All Progressives Congress candidate for Aba Federal Constituency, Promise Ihia Seymour, has rejected the result of the February 25 National Assembly election in the constituency. Ihia Seymour announced the rejection today in Aba during a press conference. According to the candidate, the All Progressives Congress APC was omitted from the ballot paper for the election, making the result unacceptable. He called for the cancellation of the result, saying that the omission made it impossible for his supporters and APC members to vote for him. Ihia Seymour, a former leader of the Aba South Local Government Area Legislative Council, called for a rescheduling of the election. In a related development, the All Progressives Congress has denied reports that the party received about 2 billion naira in financial support from the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike for its presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu prior to the election. Tinubu, who emerged winner of the presidential election held last Saturday, also won Rivers State ahead of the Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party's Peter Obi. Meanwhile, there were reports that Wike had released about 2 billion naira to enable the APC to organize the presidential campaign in the state and ensure the victory of Tinubu in the state. Recall that a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Tony Okocha, had told newsmen on Thursday that the party got human and financial support from Wike. Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja today granted the request of People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi to inspect the election materials used during last Saturday's presidential poll. Recall that Atiku and Obi approached Presidential Election Court to seek permission for the inspection of election materials used during last Saturday's poll. Atiku and Obi refused to concede defeat in the February 25 presidential election, vying to recover their mandate in court. The two candidates rebuffed the gesture of conciliation made by the president-elect Bola Tinubu, who, in his acceptance speech after he was declared the winner of the poll on Wednesday, asked them to support him in the task of building the nation. Meanwhile, Atiku and Obi spoke at separate news conferences in Abuja on Thursday, but the court today granted both candidates' request to have access to all the sensitive materials INEC deployed for the presidential election won by the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu. Still on the judiciary now, where the Supreme Court has ordered that owed 200, 500, 1,000 naira notes remain in circulation till December 31, 2023. The Apex Court also nullified the federal government's naira redesign policy, declaring it as an affront to the 1999 Constitution. Justice Emmanuel Agim, who read the lead judgment, said that the preliminary objections by the defendants, being the Attorney General of the Federation, Bayelsa and Edo States, are dismissed as the court has the jurisdiction to entertain the suit. The court further disclosed that President Muhammadu Buhari, in his broadcast, admitted that the policy is flawed with a lot of challenges. The Supreme Court noted that the policy has led to some people engaging in trade by barter in a bid to survive. Away from that, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has said that the implementation of the cash swap policy of the federal government has been remarkably haphazard and fell short of international standards. The Speaker hailed the decision of the Supreme Court, which invalidated the deadline for the currency policy introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) and extended it to 31st December 2023. He said the policy deviated from the prior practice of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) without providing any benefits to the Nigerian people or the economy of Nigeria, both of which have suffered significant harm as a result. In a statement he personally signed, the Speaker said the House will exercise its authority to review the actions and inactions, the failures of law and procedure that set the conditions for this profound failure of public policy. So from the judiciary now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has convicted and sentenced a former Accountant General in the office of the Head of Service of the Federation, Garba Abdullahi Tahir, to 21 years in prison for stealing pension funds totaling about 26.1 million naira. Trial Justice Inyang Kor found the defendant, who was formerly in charge of pension accounts, guilty of a 7-count charge that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) preferred against him. Now, the court said it was satisfied that the anti-graft agency proved its case against the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. Consequently, it sentenced the defendant to 3 years imprisonment on each of the 7 counts. Justice Akor held that the sentence would run concurrently starting from April 3. Meanwhile, Justice Adekunle Adeleye of an Ado-Ekiti High Court has discharged and acquitted a 55-year-old university lecturer, Dr. Ayinde Olukayode, of alleged rape. Olukayode, who lectures at the Ekiti State University, EXU, has been standing trial on the alleged offense of rape contrary to the provisions of Section 31, subsection C of the Child's Rights Law, Cap C7, Laws of Ekiti State 2012. Now, the lecturer, who was arraigned on March 7, 2022, had pleaded not guilty to the allegation of raping a 12-year-old girl, names withheld, in August 2020. In his judgment, Adeleye held that the prosecution witnesses had created doubt in the mind of the court with the discrepancies in the evidence. The judge said the prosecution had failed to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. It therefore discharged and acquitted Olukayode of the offense of rape for insufficient claims. A separate development, the Niger Delta Development Commission has inaugurated a 16-member budget committee to prepare its 2024 budget through engagement with stakeholders. Addressing members of the committee during the inauguration ceremony, at the Commission headquarters in Port Harcourt. The NDDC Managing Director Samuel Obuku said that the committee must first identify the vision of the Commission as an interventionist agency in order to prioritize the allocation of available resources. Obuku said that the 2024 NDDC budget should strike a balance in funding new projects, ongoing projects, as well as debt financing in order to get the buy-in of stakeholders. In another development, the Lagos State government says Adeniran Whitney died from asphyxia and electrocution. The Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Moyoshore Onibanjo, in a statement, said an autopsy issued by the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital has revealed the cause of her death to be asphyxia and electrocution. Meanwhile, the Directorate of Public Prosecutions has been instructed to immediately issue legal advice on the matter. Recall that Whitney, a pupil of Chrisland School in the Opebi Keja area of Lagos, died some weeks back, with the cause of her demise uncertain. Away from that, dozens of people have been killed by an explosion that occurred at a pipeline tapping point in Rumwekwe community, Moha local government area of Rivers State. Persons reported dead were said to be engaged in the business of illegal refining of stolen crude oil. The Executive Director, Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center, YEAC Nigeria, Fine Face, confirmed the incident through the center's crude oil spill alert system, COSAS. Fine Face said the explosion happened at about 2 a.m. today when a driver kicked the ignition of one of the buses loaded with stolen crude oil. According to reports, the bus was being used to transport the siphoned crude oil to the location of the illegal refineries. Still to come in the news. World food price down for 11th month. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where the United States is offering a reward of $5 million for information that will help capture the leader of a rebel group in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has ties to the Islamic State group. The U.S. State Department said under the command of Seka Baluku, the Allied Democratic Forces ADF had killed, maimed, raped and abducted civilians, including children. And while the ADF leader is reportedly from Uganda, where the group first carried out attacks in the 1990s. Recall that in 2021, the U.S. labeled the Democratic Forces a terrorist organization. Meanwhile, top U.S. commander in Africa has downplayed the recent joint naval exercise by Russia, China and South Africa in the Indian Ocean. General Michael Langley said America offered much more valuable security partnerships to African countries, but would not force them to pick nations to cooperate militarily with. Now, Langley described the joint naval exercise as power projection by Russia and China. Meanwhile, South Africa sent more than 400 troops to the exercise, while Russia sent a battleship armed with hypersonic missiles. The general warned of the growing involvement of Russia's Wagner Group in conflicts across Africa, saying they were a destabilizing force. Meanwhile, an alleged suicide attempt by a judge in Zambia who is facing corruption accusations has been foiled after he was rescued from a river he is said to have thrown himself into. Wilfred Muma, a High Court judge in Western Zambia, is currently facing allegations of transferring a land title involving a Zambia Army property in Lusaka to the governing party, which wanted to use it to build its offices. He has denied the charges in court. The reports say he was arrested 2 weeks ago, but according to to Zambia police spokesperson Danny Mwale. The judge on Wednesday went missing after sending suicide-like messages to his relatives. Mwale added that police started investigations leading to the recovery of Mumer's official vehicle, which was found abandoned at the Zambezi Bridge with keys in the ignition. Still in Africa, traversing 3 capital cities in hours, French President Emmanuel Macron today pursued his African tour aimed at renewing freight ties. In the Angolan capital, Luanda, Macron chaired an economic forum attended by more than 50 French companies and focused on agriculture. According to reports, France has for decades been involved in the petroleum industry in the Portuguese-speaking Southern African country, which is one of the continent's top 2 crude oil producers. Macron's visit offered an opportunity to explore cooperation in other sectors. Macron said the 2 governments penned an agreement to boost Angola's agricultural sector, particularly climate resilience and water security, in addition to help revamp the coffee sector. On to the foreign scene now, where King Charles III will make his first state visit as UK monarch when he travels to France and Germany later this month. The choice of the 2 European nations and close allies is widely seen as an attempt to build post-Brexit bridges and an acknowledgement of the affection the late Queen Elizabeth II had for France. According to reports, the visits will take place from March 26 through March 31. Ahead of the King's coronation on May 6. According to the palace, the tour will celebrate Britain's relationship with France and Germany, marking their shared histories, culture, and values. Still on the foreign scene, Alex Murdaugh, an attorney whose dynastic family had significant legal reach in parts of South Carolina's Low Country for decades, faces sentences after he was found guilty of murdering his wife and 22-year-old son. The chief judge jurors, after listening to witnesses for more than a month, took less than 3 hours to convict Murdaugh of 2 counts of murder in the June 2021 killings, as well as 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Recall that Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, and younger son, Paul, were found fatally shot on their family's Islington property on June 7, 2021. Meanwhile, Cambodia's most prominent opposition leader, Kem Sokha, has been sentenced to 27 years under house arrest for treason. Sokha, the former leader of the now-dissolved Cambodian National Rescue Party, has also been barred from standing or voting in elections. According to reports, he was accused of conspiring with foreign powers to overthrow Prime Minister Hun Sen's government. Elsewhere, a court in Belarus has sentenced Nobel Peace Prize winner Ales Bialiatski to 10 years in prison, a verdict likely to be strongly condemned by Western human rights groups. Bialiatski was in the dock with 2 allies after they were jailed in the aftermath of historic demonstrations against the disputed 2020 re-election of Belarus's strongman, President Alexander Lukashenko. According to rights group Viesna, meaning Spring in Belarusian, which Bialiatski founded in 1996, they were accused of smuggling cash into Belarus to allegedly fund opposition activities. Viesna said he had been handed a 10-year sentence, while co-defendant Valentin Stefanovich was given 9 years in prison, and Vladimir Lebkovich was jailed for 7. In another development, Turkey's opposition alliance fractured today after one of the leaders refused to endorse a joint candidate against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The cracks emerged a day after the 6 opposition party leaders held a meeting in Ankara to discuss whom to field against Erdogan in the May 14 polls. 5 parties endorsed Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, a bookish former civil servant who leads Turkey's main secular party, as the front-runner in the bid to end Erdogan's rule. The leader of the nationalist IYI party, Meral Akşener, has resisted Kılıçdaroğlu, backing instead Istanbul's popular opposition mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu or Ankara's mayor Mansur Yavaş. In the meantime, Italian prosecutors today began investigating why rescuers arrived too late to last weekend's deadly shipwreck as the Coast Guard brought to safety another boat carrying hundreds of migrants. Prosecutors in Crotone opened an investigation on Thursday into what went wrong in the rescue operation of migrants off the southern Calabrian coast of Italy, as the death toll from the disaster rose to 68. Now, according to current information from public authorities, there was a 6-hour gap on Saturday night between the moment the boat from Turkey with some 180 people on board was spotted by EU border agency Frontex and the start of the rescue operation by Italy's Coast Guard. According to reports by then, the overcrowded boat shattered not far from the shore in a storm, sending the migrants, including many children, into the sea. Separately today, the Coast Guard said it had rescued 211 migrants from a fishing boat in distress during the night in bad weather, some 15 kilometers off the island of Lampedusa. Elsewhere, Iran dismissed as false today a claim by the British and US navies that Iranian weapons had been seized from a smuggling boat apparently headed to Yemen. The Foreign Ministry accused the Western allies of attempting to divert attention from their own arming of a Saudi-led coalition that has waged a devastating campaign against Yemen's Iran-backed rebels since 2015. Recall that on Thursday, the British Embassy in the United Arab Emirates announced that the Royal Navy had seized Iranian-made weapons from a smuggling vessel off the coast of Oman last week. According to a statement by the embassy, the small craft, traveling at high speed after dark in international waters, was initially spotted by U.S. aerial surveillance. Meanwhile, the weapons retrieved included medium-range ballistic missile components, as well as Iranian versions of Russia's Kornet anti-tank missile. In the meantime, a man who set off an explosive device at a courthouse in Montenegro's capital, Podgorica, was killed in the blast today, and 5 others were injured. According to police, the incident happened at Montenegro's Basic Court, a lower judiciary body that handles municipal cases in the capital. Reports say police cordoned off the area moments after the explosion and that there was no visible damage to the outside of the building. Police say an investigation into possible motives behind the blast was ongoing following the explosion. Court officials have called for greater security at the country's courthouses, saying the issue had long been raised with authorities. Meanwhile, UK lawmakers announced today they will question former Prime Minister Boris Johnson over whether he lied about Partygate in a probe that could trigger his removal as a member of Parliament. In an interim report released after 8 months of work, Parliament's Privileges Committee said the evidence so far undermined Johnson's pleas of innocence to the House of Commons. Described as a summary of the investigation so far ahead of Johnson's questioning, it added there is evidence that the House of Commons may have been misled on several occasions. The committee summoned the ex-Conservative leader to give public evidence in the week beginning March 20. Meanwhile, Johnson, who resigned as Prime Minister last summer after Partygate and other scandals, said the report showed he was vindicated and had not committed any contempt of Parliament. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blyden. Okay.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. Welcome to Business News. My name is Blyden Ukem. The Food and Agriculture Organization Food Price Index dropped for an 11th consecutive month to 129.8 points in February 2023 and was down 18.7% from the peak it reached in March 2022. Prices of vegetable oils were down 3.2% to the lowest level since the beginning of 2021, driven by lower world prices across palm, soy, sunflower, its seeds, and rapeseed oils. Also, dairy prices dropped 2.7% due to falling prices across all dairy products, with the steepest declines in butter and skim milk powder. In addition, the costs for cereals and meats were down 0.1%, while sugar prices surged 6.9%, reaching the highest level since February 2017. And now to digital assets. Bitcoin dropped more than 4% to around $22,400, a level not seen in more than 2 weeks, as mounting worries about the fallout of crypto-focused US bank Silvergate's capital sent shockwaves through crypto markets. The share price of California-based Silvergate crashed after new revelations about the extent of its exposure to failed crypto exchange FTX raised questions about its capacity to survive. Coinbase was among the first crypto exchanges to stop payment transactions with the lender. Other cryptocurrencies, including Ethereum, also saw their values fall sharply, down almost 5% to trade below $1,600. To CBN's recent directive. Zenith Bank's Deputy Managing Director DMD, Adara Umoji, has been affected by the new leadership tenure stipulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN. Umoji became the Deputy Managing Director in 2016, but she was first appointed to the board of Zenith Bank as Executive Director ED in 2012. While she has occupied the Deputy Managing Director's position for 7 years, when combined with the period she became an Executive Director, she has spent 11 years as DMD and ED. This clashes with a directive given by the Godwin Emefiele-led Central Bank, which states that an Executive Director that becomes a Deputy Managing Director should have a cumulative tenure of not exceeding 10 years. The Central Bank made the shocking announcement, which is expected to trigger changes in leadership within the financial institution. Still on Zenith Bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria has given approval in principle to Zenith Bank to operate as a financial holding company. According to a statement signed today by the company's secretary, Michael Otu, the company revealed plans to change its organizational structure. With this change, the organization will have a banking subsidiary along with other subsidiaries in the financial services sector. It would be a good time to look at the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the last trading day of the week, and the benchmark All-Share Index shed 141.03 basis points, a negative 0.25%, to close at 55,529.21 points, representing a one-week gain of 1.06%. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 11% decline in volume, 22% decline in turnover, and 10% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 30.3 trillion naira. 107 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 17 gainers and 16 losers. Academy Praise led the gainers with 9.48% share price appreciation, closing at 1 naira 27 kobo per share. Saplat Petroleum Development Corporation came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.43% at 1,200 naira per share. Sterling Bank recorded the highest volume of 45.6 million traded shares. This is all on Business News. I'm back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Biden. Still to come in the news. Lakers to reassess LeBron's injury. in 3 weeks. So stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, some stakeholders in the health sector have advocated for the establishment of a Health Development Bank of Nigeria to assist in solving the sector's financial challenge. The stakeholders, which comprise 7 state commissioners of health and the state executive secretaries of primary health care development agencies and the Federal Capital Territory, made the call in Abuja. The call was made at the stakeholders' planning and review meeting of health system strengthening and access to right of health in Nigeria, organized by Center for Social Justice (CSJ). The lead director CSJ, Eze Onyekwere, said that the specialized bank was needed to help finance most of the capital projects usually associated with the health sector, noting that most of the equipment and other technological devices used in the health sector were capital intensive. Still in health, the World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, has said that an estimated 135 million people have ear and hearing problems in Africa. Moeti also said the numbers are rising, and at the current rate, it is likely that by 2050, there would be over 338 million people affected by ear and hearing issues in Africa. She made this known in a press statement to commemorate the 2023 World Hearing Day. Meanwhile, World Hearing Day is celebrated every March 3 to raise awareness of deafness and hearing loss prevention and promote ear and hearing care worldwide. This year's theme is Ear and Hearing Care for All. Let's make it a reality. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. Well, in sports, LeBron James's foot injury will be reassessed in 3 weeks, and the LA Lakers have confirmed. The 38-year-old sustained the injury in the third quarter of Sunday's victory over the Dallas Mavericks and subsequently missed the defeat to the Memphis Grizzlies and the victory against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Reports emanating this afternoon states that James would not require surgery, and although not confirmed by the team, the Lakers have said it is a right foot tendon injury. A team statement said, and I quote, LeBron James has been evaluated by the Lakers team physicians and medical staff, and it has been determined that he has sustained a right foot tendon injury. Well, talking about Formula One, Sergio Perez underlined the belief that Red Bull are favourites for the 2023 championship in the first practice at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix. The Mexican was 0.438 seconds quicker than the impressive Aston Martins of Fernando Alonso, with world champion Max Verstappen in third place. Verstappen, apparently struggling with the lack of front-end grip, was 0.617 seconds behind his teammate. McLaren's Lando Norris was fourth and Lewis Hamilton 10th for Mercedes. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was fifth quickest after a session affected by problems with his rear wing. We're finally talking about football. Brazilian forward Roberto Firmino is set to leave Liverpool when his contract expires at the end of the season. The 31-year-old has been with the Reds since joining them in a £29 million deal from Hoffenheim in June 2015. Firmino has helped Liverpool win the Champions League, Premier League, the FA Cup, the EFL Cup, and the Club World Cup during his time at Anfield. He has made 353 appearances for Liverpool, scoring 107 goals and providing 70 assists. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has said he wanted Firmino to stay with the club, and while the player had been in discussions over a new contract, he has chosen to move on. Brazilian's playing time has been limited recently due to muscle injuries and the arrivals of Diogo Jota, Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, and Cody Gakpo Well, that's the stories we're tracking right now in football. My name is Isaac. Isaac, back to you, Savior.
Many thanks, Isaac. Now, on entertainment news, Bollywood actor Harshad Warsi and a YouTube influencer Manish Mishra are among dozens who have been banned from participating in India's share market. The market regulator said it made the decision after investigating allegations of price manipulation. It said videos and 4 YouTube channels were used to artificially inflate values of certain shares. According to the regulator, the videos shared false and misleading information about Sharpline Broadcast and Sadhana Broadcast, encouraging investors to buy their shares. Show and entertainment, Nigerian singer and songwriter Lo Jay has finally released his long-anticipated project, the Gangster Romantic EP. The eclectic EP, produced by Anthony Egwu, is a valuable insight into the heart and mind of the rapidly rising Nigerian star, touching on a range of emotive subjects from romance to conflict through a breadth of sounds and influences. The Gangster Romantic, which was released today, is a solo run across 7 tracks, assisted by the South African kings of Amapiano, DJ Maforiza and Kabza Da Small, on the previously released 3rd track, Canada. That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific weekend. Good night.